What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Grown Up Podcast, where you already know what we do. We talk about that grown up shit, we celebrate independence, and we got that now segment at the end for you. Now, first and foremost, I do have to tell you thank you, supporters, subscribers to the podcast. I am deeply grateful for y'all sticking with me for the past 4 years this month. It's truly been a blessing. It's been a ride, and I hope to continue this ride. Not hope, but we are continuing this ride, and we are taking this as long as we want to. Okay, so I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and I thank y'all so much deeply from the bottom of my heart. So let's get into the episode. Now, this episode is going to be a little short and sweet, only on my part. This beginning is going to be short and sweet. I'm going to have a few announcements for y'all as far as what's new, what's been going on. If you're not subscribed to the email newsletter, then, you know, you lucky you getting this episode. I'm just playing. No, but the email newsletter definitely gave a good amount of what I'm going to be telling y'all here. So if you're subscribed to that and you've seen what is new, then you could just kind of skip to the interview part of this. So, but if you haven't subscribed to the email newsletter, then you have no idea what I'm about to say, and you should stick around. And then at the end of this episode, you should subscribe to the email newsletter so that you can be the first to know about all the updates that are going on. So let's get into it. What's new with the Grown Up Podcast? Grown Up Podcast has now officially signed with a new broadcasting company. So as you guys know, I am signed with That's Not Canon Productions, which is a independent content, independent podcaster collective of, you know, it's a collective of other independent podcasters like myself, and we basically have come together under a name in order to connect with each other, to share resources, to do things such as like feed swap, and to help each other out, and basically just bring us together in one place to help each other. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when you go to school and you're in a classroom, we're all in the classroom, like we're all there to learn together, you know. It's basically like that. We're all there to help each other, you know, further our independent podcasting, you know, careers. But Indie Soup Media is slightly different and has a little bit of that component of having collective independent creators, but it is actually a media content network with a full service production hub. So they're a full broadcasting platform. Okay. And I'll just read their blur on their website. It says Indie Soup Media was created to showcase the talents of both independent and industry content creators. We have a special affinity for content creators producing independently and exist to be the heart of the indie content creators. Additionally, Indie Soup Media will consist Indie Soup Learn, our video learning platform, which gives creators a space to teach their craft. So basically, Indie Soup Media is pretty much the next step for me in this podcasting realm. And the reason being is because I have been talking about this for quite some time, and y'all definitely know that I've been wanting to add a video element to the podcast. And Indie Soup Media is primarily video, like visual. So their primary platform is YouTube. And so what does that mean? That means for me and Grown Up Podcast, we will be now migrating to officially building the YouTube channel. Officially being visual. You will now be seeing me visually. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like and how it's going to go, but it's already done. Okay, if God says so and God has put this opportunity in front of me to be able to take it, then I know that it's already done and I don't have to keep worrying myself about what I look like, anything, just anything. I don't have to worry about anything. I just be myself and let things take its course. So, Grown Up Podcast is officially going to be migrating over to the YouTube channel. So I would much appreciate if you can head there, go subscribe. It is at Now Grown Up Podcast, and the now part is all capitals. So I've been signed on for 2 seasons, and so this is going to be a very, very, very exciting opportunity and new experience. So I would much appreciate y'all checking them out, and check out the other independent content creators that are with Indie Soup Media. And you can do that by going to the description below, clicking right away to go and check out their website and check out everything that they have going on. So if you're subscribed to the email newsletter, you knew that at the beginning of this month, and that is not a surprise. But if you weren't, surprise. That doesn't mean that, Grown Up is not going to be posting still on podcast platforms. That just means that my format is going to be different, and everything is going to be different. It's going to change. So just stick with me. I'm always into something. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me and for sticking with my roller coaster journey. So next, as far as announcements, unfortunately, my Now Spotlight artist for this month dropped. So that was another thing that kind of threw me off as far as posting an episode this month. So I don't have a Spotlight artist for you this month, but last month's Spotlight artist will still continue to be supported because, as y'all know, we just supporting here. Okay, so if y'all can go and check out Tajan, I would much appreciate y'all. We did drop our interview on YouTube, so that is up now for y'all to go and check that out. There are 2 categories when you go to the YouTube channel. There are 2 playlists when you go to the YouTube channel. There is the Now Grown Up playlist, which is strictly the Natural and a Wave artist interviews that I've done. And then there is the Grown Up Interviews Independence playlist, where it is strictly only the independent individuals that I have interviewed on the podcast and posted them to YouTube. So head there, you can check it out. And then you can come back here next month because I do have a spotlight artist for you for next month. So I much appreciate y'all supporting me, supporting independence. And other than that, I don't really have too much more to say other than happy Pride Month. It is the very last day of Pride Month. And although I have not felt too proud of myself all month, and I have been beaten on myself all month, I am now here to say that none of it mattered. And today I say happy Pride, and today I am happy with myself, and I don't care about all of the other days of this month that, I did not show up, because I'm showing up today. So that's my message to you. If you feel down about yourself for not showing up in the past, forget about it, because you're showing up right here, right now. And truthfully, that's all that matters. So I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I did have an interview drop on YouTube this past weekend. And so if you're already subscribed to the YouTube channel, you knew that already. But if you're not and you've been waiting on me to drop on podcast platforms, I, first of all, am deeply sorry, but also I'm not sorry because life be lifing. And so that's that. But you are going to get the opportunity to hear that interview right here, right now, without having to go to YouTube. But just don't get too comfortable with this now. All right. Yeah, I am migrating to YouTube. So like I said, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, go check out what I have posted up there, like, comment, share those, and await for more. But other than that, let's get into this month's independent interview with another life coach. So happy to be connecting with so many amazing individuals who are finding their passions and, are truly being pioneers in their own life. So I managed to secure another life coach. So if y'all did not get everything that you needed to from Miss Esther, then I hope that you get that and then some on top of it with Mr. Glenn Citerony. And so here he is, and here's our interview. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Grown Up Podcast, where you already know what we do. We talk about grown up shit, we celebrate independence, and of course, we have that natural and a wave music at the end. Today, we have an amazing guest joining me. I said great and amazing in the same, try to blend it together, but it just kind of came out great, amazing. So there we go. Here on the podcast, we explore the journeys of individuals who are boldly pursuing new career paths while leveraging their valuable skills and experiences. Today's guest, Glenn Citerony, is a seasoned professional who has dedicated 3 decades of leadership to the biotech and pharmaceutical industry. Ooh, I'm getting a little tongue-tied already. With a wealth of knowledge and experience under his belt, Glenn Citerony is now embarking on a new adventure as he transitions to a different career path. Join me as we delve into his story, uncovering the insights, challenges, and triumphs he has experienced along the way. He has also utilized an artful blend of ancient philosophy and modern principles to embark on this mission to transform and help busy professionals and executives. So, we're going to get into a lot and get ready to be inspired and motivated by Glenn Citerony's leap into the unknown and helping professionals achieve their goals as well. So without further ado, with that wonderful long intro for y'all, let's bring to the stage life coach and professional speaker, Glenn Citerony. How you doing?
Hi, Derek. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Am I saying your name correctly?
You are. Yeah,
okay, perfect.
Nice job.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, it's very nice to have you here on the podcast. I'm very excited to introduce you to the Grown Up Podcast audience and what you do. So let's get started with my first question. Tell us the condensed version of the events that led you to become a life coach and corporate speaker after spending so long in the biotech and pharmaceutical industries.
Yes. About 10 years ago at work, human resources came to me and they said, we don't have any money for a wellness workshop. Can you put one on?
Wow. Okay.
So I never talked about my background, which is competitive bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding, and my pursuit in athletics. So I never really talked about it at work, but obviously word gets out and I said, okay, I'll do it. We won't pay you, but maybe we'll give you a Target gift card or Starbucks gift card, and that's fine. So what I did is I created a curriculum on nutrition, fitness, emotional health, and wellness.
Wow.
And I put these workshops together. They were well received. And then afterwards, people would come up to me and they'd say, you affected my life. This is what I've done differently. This is how I've changed my habits.
Wow.
Can you talk to my son?
Wow.
I'm like, wow, okay. This is well beyond what I thought the impact would be.
Right.
So I did this for a number of years, but after a while, I was starting to become known as the wellness director at work. And I thought, you know what, I can't keep this up. I have a day job, which was substantial and responsibilities. I just couldn't do it simultaneously.
Right.
But I always kept it in the back of my mind that if I left the industry, I would pursue something where I could help people. I could change lives. And when I was let go through the acquisition of my company 6 months ago, I thought, why don't I pursue this? Why don't I give my wisdom, things that have come from being a parent of 2 kids, twin boys, a father, a husband, juggling a job that was really challenging, being on the road, and trying to be fit, both emotionally and physically. Why don't I give that wisdom to others like I did through the workshops? And this is what I'm doing now to see if I can impact other people's lives. That's all. That's what it's about. The one twist I've added, Derek, is the spiritual component. But when it came to me, is really it's about mind, body, and spirit. And the spirit component had to be integrated. And when I'm writing a book, and the book is being edited, and it was the most fun part was the spiritual component, and that should not be neglected. So this is what's led me to this point.
Wow, that's truly incredible. I've actually embarked on my own spiritual journey, so it's very exciting to now have you on the podcast, and we're going to be delving a little bit deeper into that component. So I'm very excited that you kind of touched on that, and that's the area that you're working in. So my next question I have, we're going to focus on the key areas that you work on with professionals and individuals alike in your profession. So right now we're going to focus on personal development and self-improvement. I'm in a season of my life of prioritizing personal development and self-improvement, but it took a life-changing event for me to come to this point. So in your opinion, what would you say are 3 important things that would help someone develop a growth mindset and adopt a positive attitude towards self-improvement, maybe a little faster or without such a hassle of a huge event or life-changing thing happen in their life?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it often takes an epiphany, something that stops the person in their tracks to say, this isn't working. Could be a divorce, could be a health scare, but you don't want to get to that point, right? You don't want to get to that point where you've hit a crux in your life, and then you're basically in reactive mode and you're scared, right?
Absolutely.
Am I going to lose this? Am I going to lose that? So what's important is to be proactive and see the signs, right? As you're driving down the highway and you're going through life and you're seeing warning signs come up. It could be, like I said, could be something, unfortunately, a heart scare. It could be something that your spouse says to you. You're not spending enough time with your kids, but you kind of just keep going. It's going to be okay. Yeah. It's going to be okay. But eventually what I try to help people is using their intuition to basically say, okay, what am I feeling here? What am I sensing? Slowing things down and understanding that those signs are there on purpose. That's what life is giving you, and you have to read the signs. Otherwise, you're going to get off the road eventually. Your body will rebel. Your kids may not know you after a while, or those relationships may be frayed. Or your spouse, right? You may not recognize your spouse after a number of years and go, how did this happen? How did I get here? Yeah. It shouldn't come to that. So the point is about personal development and self-improvement. There has to be a growth mindset. There has to be an understanding that I may be 45 years old, but I'm not too old to learn. I'm not too old to develop. Because once that happens, once you've gotten to that point, it's like a tree that's fixed, and it's really hard to bend the tree. I've got trees outside that I'm looking at. And once they're mature, it's really hard they're not very pliable anymore. You've got to get to a point where go, you know what? I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to humble myself, to take my ego out of it and say, hey, I need some coaching. That's what's important is, and what does it take? Hopefully it doesn't take a life event. And hopefully you're reading the signs along the way. And I help people read the signs or understand that they have to react to them in a positive manner.
Absolutely. I definitely 100% agree with that. And I love that comparison that you made to a tree being mature and not being able to bend. That's something I may use in my life. So the next section we're going to focus on here is biohacking 2.0 and the intersection of mind, body, and spirit. And so could you explain what is biohacking? And then I have another question for you after that.
The biohacking is a loaded word. It's about basically finding it. It's what I interpret it as is how can we short circuit a process? How can we get somewhere faster, right? And oftentimes that is a byproduct of technology and the speed of our lives. But in many cases, I'd say 90% or plus of cases, you really can't short circuit the process. And what I mean by process is when I'm taking my clients and I'm coaching people, it's understanding where you are now. really what's the lay of the land? What are we working with? And understanding that foundation, that wealth of material, you'll need that to really improve your life, to grow from that point, that foundation.
Yes.
But biohacking, again, back to that point, I mean, I really want to answer your question. I don't really like to use that term that often because it says, okay, how can I get there? How can I get this done quicker? And it's the process. The process is imperative. It's not often focusing on the result where you want to go, which is important. You need to have goals, but you have to focus on the process, the day to day, and oftentimes the mundane work, the boring work, whether it's improving your body, whether it's improving your mind, your emotional resilience, or improving your spirit, connecting to the divine. It doesn't happen in minutes. It doesn't happen in days. It happens over the course of days, a course of weeks. Not getting a whole lot off my prayer life. Well, how often do you pray? I don't pray that often. We got to connect into the divine. It's like a relationship. If I spoke to my wife every few weeks, we wouldn't really have a relationship, would we?
Right.
If I didn't really work out consistently, my body would start to atrophy. So the biohacking, biohacking is really, I talk about, is using a term that's cool and kind of nouveau. It's what we're using now. But the process, because we're all human and we have flesh and blood, we haven't changed. That's why I use ancient wisdom. We haven't changed in 2,000, 3,000, or 4,000 years. And you can't short circuit a process. And through coaching someone and having them receptive is understanding this is going to take time. This is not going to happen overnight. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with the process? Because the process, like Nick Saban talks about with his players, the process is imperative. It's focusing on one play at a time, not looking at the scoreboard, right? It's focusing on what you're doing right here and being mindful in the present moment, which is critical because that's all we have. You can't go past in the past. You can't go in the future. This is right now, right here, right now is important.
Absolutely. Strangely enough, the podcast is what has helped me hone in on the present and focusing on now. Experiencing all the ups and downs in the podcast throughout these 4 years. It's been a whirlwind, but staying focused on what it is that I need to do right now in order to continue sustaining my passion has been the most valuable tool that I've used for myself to stay focused in my life and this part of personal development and self-improvement. So definitely like that you hit on that at that point. So my next question, still tying into the intersection of mind, body, and spirit, what are some recommended techniques when it comes to incorporating this into one's life?
Oh, how much time do we have?
We got time.
We do have time. Thank you, Derek. I would say what's most important is understand the intersectionality of all of them. What we've done as a society is we partitioned out mind. You go to a psychologist or a therapist, which is great. You need to do that. There's specialists, or you go to your primary care doctor, or you go to a priest.
Right.
But those are all interconnected. They're all interwoven in a unique and sacred fabric. And so what I first is really when I'm talking to someone and they may want to lose weight or they want to tone up or get fit, I go, great, that's physical. But where are you at emotionally, mentally? How are you dealing with stress? Because until we start working with that, right? It's going to be hard to make changes physically, right? And understanding that again, sacred fabric between the two, between the three, that's the most important. And understanding that one affects the other. And you can't work on one facet of the engine, the human engine, without thinking of the impact of the other two. So that's number one. Number two is understanding that there were not victims, or we shouldn't feel like we are succumb to the past or to the future anxiety, meaning our past does not dictate our future. And our future concerns should not dictate how we're operating in the present moment. So understanding that all we have is now, here and now, and how to get into the here and now is through breathing and mindfulness. So you'll see this in my blogs and through my videos. I talk about meditation and mindfulness and just plain breathing extensively. Yes. Because it's really getting inside yourself and understanding the breathing impacts everything. When I get stressed, the first thing I start to breathe through my mouth, my throat, it gets shallow, and I'm not breathing through my diaphragm. So getting people in the moment, being present, of just understanding how their body's reacting to stress, and through their way of how to not manipulate, but I would say manage their emotions through their own system of breathing. That's really important. And through that, you have a gateway, a conduit to really managing your emotions through your own breathing. Next, for the body. The body is a unique system. And what I would focus on is, again, my background is bodybuilding. So I really preach the importance of muscle mass, especially as we age. People love to be on the cardio machines, which is terrific, but you've got to be strong. Yeah. It's hard animals that are strong are hard to kill. Yeah. And as you get stronger, you start to become mentally stronger, thinking, hey, I lifted that weight, right? And so really focusing on muscle mass, hypertrophy, and putting cardio, which is important through your metabolic health and your heart health, but that is a secondary component, and not overemphasizing running or being on the treadmill constantly. It's becoming, I always say, how are you getting stronger? How are you and maintaining your muscle mass? Because sarcopenia, as you age, anyone ages, your muscle mass starts to decrease. It's just natural. Yeah. And spirit. Spirit is plugging into the divine. Like I plugged in my computer today to the wall outlet. How do we connect to something greater than ourselves through meaning and purpose? It's really important, because when you know the why, you can determine the how. And so Carl Jung, who spent time with the Hopi Indians 100 years ago, Jung, who's a Swiss psychiatrist, realized that the Hopi Indians were so connected to the environment and understood the divine and how the moon and the stars and the sun, and it all was interwoven. It was a cosmic purpose. He took that and it impacted his philosophies in psychiatric care, and realized many people who had psychiatric conditions, a lot of them didn't have purpose. And what do you find with a lot of people that are really struggling? They can't find their meaning and purpose. And the connecting to the divine is really important to that. Those are the really high-level components, Derek, of mind, body, and spirit. Wow. Ooh, I feel like I'm in the whole process of that. I'm working on the body part, but definitely the mind and spirit. It's a process. Absolutely. I tell everyone that, and that's the entire basis of this podcast. Is it's a journey, it's a process. You're not going to be overnight success, and I love that you talked about meditation, because it's definitely one of the things that I have been getting into a lot more lately, and meditation has helped me extremely. So I really appreciate you touching on that. And we're actually going to get a little bit more into that right now with this next topic of spiritual practices for everyday life and with cultivating mindfulness and connection. So what are some common obstacles people face when trying to improve themselves? In the spiritual sense, Derek? Or yes, in the spiritual sense. I think the common challenge is that someone may feel like I have to adhere to a dogma or a doctrine. I always believe it's great. Within the framework of your own religion, it's terrific. But that should not dictate everything. That God permeates nature and God permeates us. Yes. And that lives within us. And knowing tapping into the divine within you is always there. It's always available. And that comes through prayer and meditation. And when I talk about meditation and prayer are, again, almost sisters. They're unique sisters. Oftentimes, if I'm meditating, I can integrate a prayer practice with that. And I can just say, here's one example. Here's a really good takeaway. Thomas Keating, Catholic monk and priest, talked about a sacred prayer called centering prayer. And what is that? Just focusing on maybe something that's unique to you or sacred to you. Could be, you can focus on a word like mercy, love, peace, and just in meditation and prayer, just keep coming back to peace. Peace. And you'll get distracted, right? The monkey mind starts moving around. Oh, I got to cook my dinner. I got to do, right? It's okay. That's fine. That's part of meditation. But just keep coming back to it. Peace. Breathe. Peace. Or mercy. Or Jesus. Or Buddha. Whoever is sacred in your life. Coming back to the word. And it starts to ground you, right? And you focus on your breathing. And focus on the divine spirit that rests within you, right? But thinking again, it's not one day, it's not one night. It's doing it in between. Say if you're a physician, a busy physician, you can do this between patients just for a few minutes. Or a student in between classes, sit down at a bench outside your dorm room and go, okay, I'm gonna sit down, get comfortable, look at the grass. People are walking by. Who cares? Don't, it doesn't matter what people think of you. Close your eyes and just go, okay, Jesus, or whatever. If you're Hindu, bring up something sacred in the Hindu religion. Doesn't matter. But focusing on a common sacred image or word, and that centering prayer will center you on the divine within you and how the divine loves you. And so that's really a good takeaway for someone. But again, it's sometimes we get caught up in doctrine or dogma. And I think as Jesus said, as he said, we don't talked about the Pharisees and the people that were at that time really doing things for show. Jesus didn't want hypocrites. He didn't want people really focusing on the act and the rituals. He wanted to understand, what is that act or ritual doing? It's supposedly connecting you to God. And it really, that's the purpose. All these principles are connecting you to the divine or whatever you consider God in your life. And that's the focus. And don't let anything interfere with that, because you have that conduit each and every day available to you.
Yes, absolutely. I want to say that just before I moved here to Texas, I was getting consistently into meditation and prayer, and it was probably the best I felt in that short amount of time. And as you said, it's a journey, so I've fallen off a bit since then. But I definitely love that this conversation is happening so that I can put on my mind and stay at the forefront that this is something that was helping me and can continue to help me. And so thank you. I appreciate that. Absolutely. So what do you recommend when coaching people on spiritual practices to cultivate mindfulness and connection?
Yeah, it's very similar to the last question. I would say, knowing that you've got to emphasize it in your life, that ultimately it's like your body, and when you're stressed, the body will tell you, right? We don't often have that in our life in terms of spirituality. We don't have a red light signal,
right?
But it happens at a very deep level, at a subconscious, or I call it the higher self. And ultimately, you've got to prioritize it. And that could be church. It could be doing some philanthropic work in the community, understanding the interwovenness of the community around you, helping out. It could be going out, like I mentioned previously, nature. Nature is God. Dante Alighieri, the Italian poet, that was his quote. And it is, go out in nature. Put your phone down. Technology really hampers our connection to the divine. Your phone will never do that for you. It will never fulfill you. The human ego and technology are really impediments to the connection to the divine. And you've got to say, you know what, I want to somehow connect to God through meditation, prayer, helping others in my community, doing something above and beyond myself. Because when you give, you're really giving to yourself, and you're really connecting to what God is, which is love. And by caring for others, you care for yourself. You've got to realize that. When you have kids, that's another component. Teach your kids that concept. You're like, well, I'll give you an example. Boys Teen Charity, it's for middle school students. And it's a local, I live here in San Diego, and they do philanthropic work. They have parents go with their kids and do philanthropic work. Wow. It's really important to do that. Take them out, lead by example. And then that is another connection to the divine, by showing the interwoven of all of us and the fabric. We're not islands. We cannot be islands, especially today's day and age where division is often rampant. We're connected. We're connected, and especially in today's world where it's easy to become divided. You've got to connect, and going out and helping others will really serve yourself spiritually.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that 100%. So the next topic that I have a question for you is the tools for living a fulfilling life. So what tools do you give to those whom you speak to on how to live a more fulfilling life? As a part of your modern Stoic practices?
Yeah. With tools, we talked about mindfulness and meditation. Next is understanding that you can manage your emotions, that you're not beholden to your emotions. Obviously, you get angry and things happen, and there's a reaction phase to your emotions. But ultimately, when things settle down, you have the ability to manage your emotions. And that comes through the use of Stoicism. And Stoicism is the foundation for today's cognitive behavioral therapy. So when you go to your therapist, a lot of those concepts from Stoicism are the foundation of CBT, and understanding that we have the ability to manage our emotions. We're not beholden to them. And ultimately, thinking through what's in your control and what's out of your control. The only thing that's in your control, your body's not even under your control. People get sick all the time. You do your best to take care of your body, right? Your job, you do your best in your job, but ultimately you have oftentimes no control of how others perceive you. You do your best, right? But it's really them. It's their perceptions. You can't change them. So really understanding what's in your control, and the only thing you have under your control, and Viktor Frankl said this. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning and talked about his experiences at Auschwitz, that ultimately what's in your control is your responsiveness, your own emotions, and how you respond to the environment. You have that. And understanding that unique power that you have, which is challenging, believe me, it is extreme. These concepts are hard to apply, but that's why you have to do them each day. Like, okay, someone cut me off in traffic. How do I respond? It's okay. Breathe. Cool. God bless you. It's okay. Right? So and then focusing on the present. Again, Pierre Hadot, French philosopher, talks about Stoicism, says, well, as I mentioned previously, we often are dragged into the future by our concerns and our anxieties and our fears, or often dragged back into the past by our memories. Stay within the moment, because that's the totality of your life. That's all you, right? You can't go back. I talked to someone earlier this week. I said, you're letting your past control you. You can't let that happen. And just bringing that mindfulness to the person, understanding, yeah, it is. Okay, how are you going to manage that? Let's talk about some tools. And for me, my challenge is not getting pulled into the future. Because of my jobs, 30 years in biotech, I had to plan. I had to think through, what's my budget next year? What are my resources? Constantly thinking of the future. And I still do that in my personal life. And my wife goes, let's stay in the present. And she catches me. Yep, you got to stay in the present. That's my challenge personally. So those are some tools. But again, that's the high level version of understanding emotions, managing your emotions, staying present, breathing. So many concepts that seem very mundane, but are so useful.
Absolutely.
And that the utility high, if we're talking business, high return on investment, right? High ROI for very low cost.
Yes, absolutely. I want to go back on something that you touched on, which is tapping into the divine. And I want to touch on that for a second because, interestingly enough, I feel like this connection and this conversation is a result of me tapping into the divine. Because as I said, I've been meditating and praying. And even though I fell off a bit, and I haven't done it as much, I try to still incorporate as much as I can with my schedule picking up as much as it is. But you talking about tapping into the divine and everything else that you are explaining hereafter, and as you're saying, a more higher concepts, I feel like I'm understanding it so much. And I'm really getting it, and it's not just surface level anymore. And it's mind blowing to me, and it's almost making me a little speechless right now. So it's very interesting how a life changing event can lead you to a moment to where I am, to where you can tap into the divine. And hopefully people don't have to come to that, and they can listen to this podcast and listen to your words and hopefully start to take steps to towards self-improvement and personal development. So I really appreciate you coming onto the podcast. I have a couple more questions for you here. So my last topic that I want to touch in is on emotional resilience. So can you explain to people how they can obtain emotional resilience, and what are best practices on how to incorporate that into their life?
Sure. And a lot of the concepts I've already talked about. It's the use of breathing. I mean, the breathing method, for example, you can use box breathing, which is inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, and then expelling for 4 seconds. The magic of that box breathing, or I talk about mindfulness breathing, is in the exhaling. When you exhale the air, you're really invoking the parasympathetic nervous system. That helps with emotional resilience. 2 is understanding that you're the hero of your own story. Challenge the assumptions. This goes back to Stoicism. There's beliefs there. I can't do this, or this is going to be a tough road. Absolutely. But realize that you have within you the ability to manage through that. Think through that you're the hero of your story, and not assume that you'll succumb to this adversity or challenge. But it takes constant care and navigation of your own internal and emotional landscape. And what I mean by that is weeds may come up, weeds of negative thoughts. And I get those too. Just earlier this week, I call them weeds. We get some negative thoughts, and I'm like, if I let this permeate, it's going to grow into a. I'm going to have to do a lot more weeding. It's going to get worse. And using affirmations, I can do it. I can manage through this, and saying it out loud, not just thinking it. Go, I'm going to work through this. I'm going to manage through that. That's really important for emotional resilience. Leaning on others, oftentimes, especially men think, I can do this. I can get through this. Really?
Yeah.
Who do you have to talk to? Who do you have in your support system that you can lean on? I have some friends, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but I call them, and I talk, and I share, and it gets there. You need someone in your life that you can share, and you can be vulnerable.
Yes.
And then the guard goes down, because especially in the workforce, the guard's always up, right? Threat responses. Guard's always up. Got to show I'm taking care of it. I'm together. But you have to be vulnerable, and you have to show your vulnerability. And where can you do that? With a friend. Especially when loneliness is so paramount, it's so prevalent in society. It's really devastating, the loneliness epidemic. And that's just older and senior citizens. It may be people living in families or in a career, and they don't have anyone to talk to, and they feel like, hey, I got to bear this burden, this cross of help. And think about maybe a childhood friend, someone that, hey, maybe that's someone I can talk to. That's another factor for emotional resilience. In addition to that, we talked about the connection to the divine, the prayer, breathing, understanding that in the midst of the adversity or the challenge, that's where God rests. It's not to pull you out of the adversity. It's to give you the strength to deal with it. Oftentimes, one person say to me, "Where's my angel? Where's my angel in my life?" And I said to the person, maybe it's your father. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe it's your friend. God may not come through an angel, right? Like Gabriel. But who are the angels in your life? Who can you talk to? That's where the divine rests as well. So it's thinking through emotional resilience is multi-pronged. It's how you talk to yourself. It's the self-compassion. You go, I made a mistake. Why the hell did I do that? And ripping into yourself and going, you know what? It's okay. Take your hand, put it over your heart and go, okay, I'm fallible. I make mistakes. Give yourself some grace. Right? Because you don't need that negative emotion. It's going to come out towards others. So inner talk, managing your emotions, mindfulness, breathing, relying on others, and connecting to the divine, the trinity of mind, body, spirit that comes in.
Wow.
That's really important for emotional and healthy resilience.
That made me a little emotional because I really felt those words. I truly enjoyed. I mean, I when you connect to the divine, all things you just open up in ways that you just don't understand. I truly appreciated this conversation. Your words were incredible. Your knowledge is incredible, and I'm very excited that God, the bigger creation, whoever has allowed your spirit to go down this road and this journey and to be able to spread the word about living in the present and spiritual practices and having mind, body, and spirit as far as understanding who the potential of who you can be as a human. And so I super appreciate everything that you've said here on the podcast. And what is the most important message that you want people to take away from the work that you do?
That we're never too old to get a coach. Just because you're a parent or you're in your 40s or 50s, that coaching doesn't end in high school with your basketball coach. That coaches are necessary to help you, and not telling you what to do. It's helping you realize and come up with the solutions yourself. It's pulling it out, and coaching is not yelling or telling someone, like I said, what to do and here's how you need to do it. It's really a non-biased perspective. It is helping with a level of expertise and empathize with the person, but realizing that coaching doesn't end in high school or college, that we all need coaches in our lives. And to say, you know what, I think I need someone to maybe help navigate these waters, and it's okay. And that person is going to be a support system for me. That's a really important message about life coaching.
Love that. I love that. And my final question for you is, why should the people connect with you and consider you as maybe reaching out for a conversation or a life coach or just saying hello?
Yeah. I guess because I have the key point is that I can empathize with what they're going through. Not perfectly, but I probably have in some realm, some facet, especially if they're a busy professional, executive, they work in a corporation, they have kids, that I know that road. I know what they're going through, and I can empathize and I can provide a perspective to them that may be uniquely different. And also, what's uniquely different is the combination of mind, body, and spirit. That I'm coming together in a package to really help them holistically and to get results. Because at the end of the day, you get a coach, you obtain a coach to get results in your life, to transform your life. Mm-hmm. And that's the important part. That's where the rubber hits the road. And that's the end goal for me. The process is very important, but at the end of the day, helping that individual get results and have a breakthrough moment and to have in a form, in a method that can transform their life. And for
Absolutely.
me, it's the whole package of the mind, body, spirit. That's the most important. I think that's what gives me the unique ability to help people.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that people connect with you. Your links will be in the description below where people can click them right away, follow you. As you can see all on the screen here, you can follow him on Instagram or you can connect with him on LinkedIn. Glenn, it's been a pleasure to have you here on the Grown Up Podcast. If you have any final words you want to leave with the audience, any personal shout outs you would like to give, and of course, for people who do forget to go to the description and my audio only listeners, if you could tell them where they can check you out on your social medias.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Instagram. Well, my website is glennciterony.com, GLENNCITERONY.com. And then you can find me on Instagram, as you mentioned, Derek, LinkedIn, and I have my YouTube channel, in which I'm constantly updating and providing videos. So lots of resources for individuals, lots of ways for them to learn and to gain an understanding of how they can help their own life in terms of emotional health, self-improvement, personal development, and spirituality. So I'm there, I'm on the web, and I'm here for them if they ever need me.
Yes, absolutely. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you tap in with him and tap into the divine as you're going on your journey of personal development and self-improvement. Glenn, like I said, it's been a pleasure. I hope to have you back in the near future. I appreciate your words. I'm going to definitely take some with me as well. And that's been awesome. It for this episode of the Grown Up Podcast. Make sure everyone is staying safe and being kind out there. All right. We're out of here.
Thank you, Derek, for having me. You're having a terrific podcast. Thanks for changing lives as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, family, you already know the drill. If you've stayed to the end, and you've stayed this long, first of all, thank you so much. I appreciate you once again for joining me on this month's episode. And please, please, please head to the description below to check out Glenn Citerony, get in contact with him, connect with him. And if you loved what he said, then like I said, you want to connect. So head to the description, click those links, tap in. I appreciate y'all. Of course, my links will be in the description below for you to click right away. Go and tap in with the Grown Up Podcast. And of course, sign up for that email newsletter. And like I said, unfortunately, our now Spotlight Artist for this month dropped, but we will be back and better next month with a new Spotlight Artist. So stay tuned with me, y'all. Stay tuned with the Grown Up Podcast. And like I said, make sure you go hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel because we will be migrating there pretty soon. All right. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And as always, stay safe and be kind out there. All right. Peace.